the previous lecture, you already went ahead and published your Android application. And while it is published, of course, you're entirely at the mercy of Google, but while it is published, you can actually go ahead and prepare your iOS application. And so in this lecture, before linking the Play Store to App Center, and while we wait, we can actually go ahead and publish the iOS application as well. So you may remember how in the previous lectures, we created a provisioning profile for distribution. That was my LPA Finance provisioning profile. However, when we created it, we set the type to be distribution, but not to the App Store yet. So this is actually the profile that we would use to distribute to our testers or to distribute to our collaborators. In this case, really, it's just me, but you know what I mean. Now, if we want to distribute to the App Store, we will need to create a new provisioning profile. And this time, in distribution, we're actually going to select App Store instead of ad hoc, what we selected previously. So once that is selected, I'm going to be creating it in the same way that I did previously. Of course, I am going to be selecting the same app ID and the same certificate, which means, if you think about it, that the certificate does not change. The only thing that we will update or that we will change when linking this to the App Center is going to be the provisioning profile, not the certificate. So let me select that certificate, hit on continue. I am going to set a different profile name so I can identify this one as the one for the store. I am going to call this LPA Finance _PP _store. And let's hit on continue. And we will have to download our profile. If we download this and select it, this will actually go ahead and open Xcode. And it won't really open anything, it will just open Xcode, but it will go ahead and install the profile. So when we open Visual Studio, we have this ready. Of course, this means that this step would have to happen on your Mac, but also you are going to need this provisioning profile later on to upload it, of course, to the App Center as we did before. So let me just select Done in here, and we're going to find now these two provisioning profiles, both for distribution, but the second one is for the store. Again, we're going to be using the same production certificate that we used before. Now let me go ahead and navigate back to Visual Studio then. I will go ahead and open it and start to prepare my application. As we navigate to Visual Studio, we are going to be able to start to configure our application to be ready to be published to the store. The first thing that I have already done in here, by the way, is when I updated the launch screen that is inside of the resources. Of course, all of this is in the iOS project, so it has a different color. As you can see, it now has a different tint of blue, maybe even some kind of purple in here. But I just went ahead, select this one, and over here in the background, and the tint just changed the color that was by default. That was the Xamarin Blue. I also went ahead and opened the assets.xc assets file and changed the Xamarin logo for this new icon. This icon, by the way, is in the resources for this lecture in case you want to use it. If you actually want to publish this to the store, you will have to change it, I suppose. But you know, it's there in case you want to use it. And once I have done that, I went to the info.plist file. I made sure that the source for the app icons is this app icon, the app icon file. I also make sure that the launch screen here is not really an image, but it's the launch screen storyboard that is there by default. And I also uploaded the iTunes hardware in here. This again is in the resources for this lecture. Just make sure that you use the correct sizes. And that is pretty much it that I have to do regarding the images. Then I have to provision manually this project. So here in the same info.plist file in the signing section, I will make sure that manual provisioning is selected. I will select bundle signing options. And in here, I am going to change over to the App Store configuration. Of course, the platform will absolutely have to be iPhone in this case. and I will change the signing identity to be my distribution certificate. This will mean that in the provisioning profile, because the profile has already been installed with Xcode, when we simply selected and Xcode opened, we're going to find that new profile that we created. And only that one, because it's the only one that was created for the App Store. So just make sure that you set that, click on OK. And now we're actually going to be trying to build this project to make sure that it still builds. So with the iOS project selected, I will select App Store as the type of build. And I will right click on my project and select build. And if this builds, it means that we can right click on the project, select archive for publishing, and we're going to be generating a new archive. This new archive is actually going to be ready for the store. And that means that with it selected, I can assign and distribute and generate an IPA file. Similar to what we did in the previous lecture, generating the APK for Android. But actually in this case, I can select App Store. It's okay for me to do that. Click on Next. Notice that we're going to find our distribution certificate for the signing identity, our provisioning profile already here, the app of course, and the provisioning profile. So with all of this selected, we can click on Next and select Publish. As we publish this, we will actually generate the IPA directly. I am going to be saving it to my desktop momentarily. Hit on Save, and this is going to create that IPA file. And now I have to open the application loader. This is the one that is going to be uploading this to the App Store. However, I don't yet have the application. So we already have the IPA file, but before I select here the IPA and upload it, I need to navigate over to iTunes Connect so I actually have this application. So let me go ahead and do that. So I am here now in appstoreconnect.apple.com, where I have a bunch of applications, but we do have to create a brand new application. And this application, of course, this is going to be iOS. I'm going to be calling this LPA Finance. I am going to choose the primary language. Again, I'm going to select Spanish in this case, just because the content is in Spanish. We'll select the bundle ID. Here I'm going to find, of course, the ID that we have been using. This is all coming from the app IDs that we have over here on the developer.apple.com portal. And we will also need to provide an SKU. This is not important. It's not going to be displayed. It's just for you to quickly identify this. In fact, my SKU is going to be LPA Finance. The name is just going to be Finance. I will go ahead and create this one. And as soon as this is created, we can actually start to upload the file. But let me go ahead and search some information in here. The privacy URL is going to be optional, but I do want to select the primary category here. Let's say that this is finance, education, and just set the basic information for your application in here, making sure that the bundle ID is the same one that you're using from Visual Studio. Once you have the app information in here, you can also very quickly, of course, save that and navigate over to pricing and availability to select the price for your application, set the availability. By default, all the territories are selected, and just hit on save. And as this is saved, we can actually navigate back to the application loader now. And so here in the application loader, all we have to do is click on choose, navigate over to the IPA file that we have, select open. This is going to go ahead and review the application, make sure that everything is correct. And if we click on next, this application is actually going to be, if everything is ready, if this application identifies that the IPA is complete and ready for it to be published, going to be uploading it to the App Store. And if everything runs correctly, we're going to see in a few seconds that the app loader has finished, and we will be able to navigate back to App Store Connect. So let's just give the app loader a few seconds to upload. And hopefully you will see a message like this one. We can select next, select done, and we can actually already close the application loader. And here in App Store Connect, if you go to the Activity tab, you're actually going to see this new version that has been uploaded. Now it will take a few minutes for Apple to process this file. And once it is processed, again, it's going to make some evaluations about the file, if it is well formatted, if it is ready for the App Store, and if it is, you're actually going to see this being updated and see that it is ready. You're even going to receive an email letting you know about that. If it is not ready, you will receive an email letting you know why it's not ready, some information about what you have to change for this version, this build to be ready. But let's just go ahead and wait a few minutes for Apple to process this file. Meanwhile, we can actually navigate back to the App Store tab and prepare for submission. In here, we're going to need mostly some screenshots and some more information about the application. So let me go ahead and write my own information, add my own screenshots. Of course, in the resources for this lecture, there are some screenshots about this application that we have been building. You could use them, they are there for you to use, but make sure that you upload some screenshots. At least the 6.5-inch display is still optional, but you will have to upload at least one screenshot here on iPhone 5.5 and also screenshots for iPad 12.9. So that is the iPad Pro 12.9 or the iPad Pro 12.9 version 2. You will also have to add some promotional text, keywords, the support URL, some description. The build is going to be, we'll just wait for Apple to process it. The App Store icon will actually be included in the build, so you don't have to upload anything in here. Set some copyright information. In this case, the application does not need anyone to sign in. If you need, you can set this to sign in, and you will have to provide the username and password for the app review team to sign into your app. Set some contact information for the app review team, some notes, and once you have done that, you will just have to wait for Apple to process the build. Once you have uploaded this information to the Prepare for Submission tab, and that you see that your provisioning profile has completed processing and it has no errors, you can then, here in the Prepare for Submission tab, go down to the place where we see the build, select that build, and select this new build that is going to appear. Select Done, and notice down here that the App Store icon is going to be updated depending to the app icon that comes directly from that build, the ones that you set back on Visual Studio. And so we can hit on Save now, and if we have completed everything, we can now submit for review. You will have to answer 3 more questions about your application, finally submit the responses, and now, just like with the Android version, you are now at the mercy of Apple. So again, we will have to wait for this application to be published in order to continue to the next lectures, where we actually connect the App Store with App Center, so the new versions of this application after this first one can actually be distributed automatically as we publish updates to our master branch. For now, we have already sent this iOS application for review. Again, hopefully this is nothing new to you. Hopefully you have done this before. I just wanted to quickly show you how to do this. And once we have sent this for review, again, we will just have to wait. But through the magic of video, in the next lecture, my applications are going to be ready, and I will start to show you how to connect the App Center, in the next lecture in particular, with the Google Play Store.